I think it's cute. I think it's fun for the summer, or just a nice little switch up. Anyway, today is going to be a story time where I'm taking it back a couple of years and I'm going back to college days, specifically the one time where I should have gotten a DUI. So let's get into it. Stay tuned. Okay, so for those of you who do not know, I attended Michigan State University and I graduated in 2014. And so this story time is going to reflect what exactly happened when I definitely should have gotten a DUI. Okay, this was about 3 months before, no, it was actually about 2 months before I was supposed to graduate. Everything had been going smoothly, and there was a big party happening off campus. And so, when it's a big party, everybody wants to go. It was called the Pretty Nasty Party. And we have been planning this out for a little while. I had my outfit. I was excited about going to this party. And I got dressed like usual, did all of that. And then I had my car on campus. And so most time, which actually I really liked because that meant that I was the designated driver for most things. And I usually wasn't drinking. So it kind of worked out. I would just be like, oh, well, I'll drive because that meant that I wasn't going to drink. And it gave me an excuse not to drink, which I was pretty grateful for just because I wasn't a big drinker. So the night of this party, I got ready like usual and picked up my friend. And then we went over to our other friend's house to pick up everybody else and I guess to pregame. So we get there, and the girls are still getting ready, and then I don't remember if we went to a liquor store or if alcohol was already there, but it was almost time to go, but people wanted to start drinking. And so usually during these times I turn it down, or I'll be like, no, I'm driving. But again, since I was almost about to graduate in a couple of weeks, like 2 months, I was like, why not? Let's turn up. And even my definition of turn up was still pretty mild. So I don't even know how much I had to drink. I remember it was Ciroc, and I remember that it wasn't that much because, like I said, I knew that I was driving, so I definitely wasn't going to overdo it. I probably had the equivalent of a shot and a half, okay? And I felt totally fine. I felt good. I felt the same as I felt before I had any alcohol. So there was no reason for me to question if I could drive or not. I felt like, of course I can. So we get in the car. We took 2 separate cars. I drove, 3 of us, and I think 3 other girls went separately. And again, I felt fine. So as I'm driving there, we had to drive through campus to get to the party. And so I remember driving, and I'm driving, and we're, laughing and having a good time in the car. And then all of a sudden, the police are behind me. Okay, and that's fine, but then they turn their siren on and they pull me over. And that's when I started to get nervous. I'm like, but wait, I didn't do anything. The police officer comes over to the driver's side and he says, ma'am, you don't have your lights on. And I'm like, oh, I'm sorry, I didn't even know. And then he says, and you were swerving, okay, because it was a 1-lane street, and I was swerving on the yellow line in the middle. And I said, oh. And then he said, have you been drinking? And I immediately started to feel nervous because what I wasn't going to do, I wasn't going to lie to this police officer. But I also knew that I had been drinking, but I thought, again, I didn't have that much to drink. But as I look back, I can see that since I wasn't a big drinker, my system was not used to that. And so that little bit amount that I had was still a lot. Okay, so I had to tell the officer the truth. I said, well, yes. And now, the girls in the back, they starting to look nervous. I'm nervous, but I'm still feeling like I didn't have that much, so I'm okay. So he says, well, I'm going to need you to step out the car. I'm like, okay. Now, mind you, I have on a short dress, and remember the Jeffrey Campbell heels? Remember those? I'm going to have to post a picture. But those were the chunky shoes with a big, like, super, super thick heel. I probably had on 5-inch heels easily. He says, okay, I want you to walk in a straight line. Right? Completely failed that. I was stumbling. I was just trying to blame it on my high heels, but I knew that once I started walking, I definitely felt the alcohol. So I'm stumbling, and he says, okay, you can stop now, because clearly I wasn't able to do that test. Then he told me to say the alphabet backwards, starting at Z. That was also very challenging. And then came the final test. The final test was the breathalyzer, where you have to blow, the little balls go up. And at this point, I'm scared. I'm scared of what's going to happen. I'm scared of the fact that I failed the first 2 tests, that I have 3 other people with me, that what is the next step? I was starting to get really scared. And he said, okay, I need you to blow into this, into the machine. I said, okay. And I blew into it, and my level was 0.16. And the normal limit is 0.08. And so I was over the normal limit, which constitutes as driving while intoxicated. And I knew this because I was an RA at the time. I had been an RA on campus for my junior year and my senior year. So I knew everything about DUIs, because I would see the police officers come to the dorms, and, residents would get in trouble. And I knew all about it. I knew that you had to pay a $2,500 fine, that this would be on your record, that sometimes you would have to take classes. And most of all, I was just embarrassed. I didn't want to tell my parents that I was caught driving drunk. First of all, I didn't even know what being drunk meant, okay? Again, I didn't even feel it, but I was clearly tipsy. So now I didn't know to pray, because if I did in that moment, I would have started praying. But I didn't know then to pray. And so I am simply begging and pleading with this police officer. I'm saying, officer, look, I am responsible. I'm an RA. I'm about to graduate in 2 months. Please, please, please give me another chance. Please have mercy on me. Like, I'm just begging him to show me some mercy. And I don't even really remember what happened next. All I know is that I think he took my license. He went back to the cop car, and then he came back and he said, you know what? Okay. Just said, okay. He said, here's what we're going to do. Someone else is going to drive. You need to make better choices. Have a good night. That's it. That's it. And that man was an angel. And I was talking to God the other day, and I was just like, have you ever felt like you run out of things to pray about? You say, okay, Lord, I don't know what else to say. And then you go back in the past, right? Not to feel shame or guilt, but to remember all the things that God has brought you out of. Okay, and I had forgotten about this incident, and God brought it back to my memory, and I was just like, oh my goodness, thank you, Lord, for your grace and for your saving mercies, because there's no way that I should have walked away without a DUI. There's no way possible. I should have been in the back of that cop car with, getting a ticket. I didn't even get a ticket, y'all. No ticket, no nothing. And the fact that I was on my way to becoming a teacher, I started thinking like, what does this mean for my teaching career? What does this mean for, my record? Are people gonna even want to hire me when they see I have a DUI on my record? Probably not. But God, but God, that was nothing but a but God moment. And so after this, I get back in the car, someone else drives, and man, you would have thought I would have been like, let's just go home. Let's call it a night. Let's just nah. We still went to the pretty nasty party, and I remember I couldn't even have a good time simply because of everything that just transpired. I was feeling like, what am I even doing here for real? And you know, I remember the party ended up getting shut down like maybe 30 minutes after we got there, and that was that. That was that. So I shared this just to say that if if you're struggling with what to talk to God about, ask Him to bring to your remembrance times in your life where it wasn't you, it was God, and He'll do it, and it'll humble you, and it will cause you to want to repent for the wrong things that you've done, because not only was I endangering my life and the lives of my friends, but what if I had endangered the life of somebody else? Like, what if I hit somebody? Or God forbid, what if it went even worse than that? There is, some. I found out years later that my mom said that she had always prayed for me while I was away at school, that God would protect me and keep me safe. And in that moment, her prayers were activated. I know without a shadow of a doubt. So this is also to encourage you. If you've been praying for something for a long time and you haven't seen it come to fruition yet, you haven't seen the results yet, just know that God hears our prayers. Just know that He is listening, and that at the very right time, in His perfect time, He will bring that thing to pass. Because that's what I'm a living testament that I should have gotten a DUI that night. Hands down. Hands down. But I'm thankful for God's grace and my mom's prayers for covering me for the years of, college and beyond. So I have actually a ton of stories I can go in the book and tell you guys. And so I'm going to start a series called College Edition, of just times where God has really protected me and shown me His grace and His mercy. So comment below if there's been a time in your life where if it wasn't for God, you would not have made it out. I would love to hear them. Thanks for watching, and I'll see y'all in the next one.